This video is sponsored by my OnlyFans, where I do my meaningful sex educational content, fitness, health, nutrition, relationship advice, and more. Hey guys, hi to you and welcome to the Emperor Show with me, Gary, and my dear friend Logan was able to join me as well. So we are here to discuss another very
Very
I wanted to say
very G reviews.
several things at once. So I was like, I'm just gonna pause here. I'm going to just click my pause button and figure it out. And I was like, it's an interesting topic. And it's one of the most, well, the biggest atrocity that we have seen in certain, it's not certain,
Mediums.
the times are not certain, in recent times. And yeah, forgive us guys, it's 11 p.m. So, Aragorn is now black in Magic the Gathering. Something that I just heard of. I mean, I'm a gamer, but that's really not my type of games. So.
It's a card game.
Yeah,
Yes.
not my type of games. So yeah, guys, I wanted to surprise you, so this time I didn't tell you that Logan is here. Okay. Anyway, we're going to watch a video, guys, and this video is just amazing. And of course, the channel is down below, so you can go and check it for yourself, as it means to be seen. It's one of the favorite channels that I watch. It is by just some guy. So he did just amazing work on this. And we are going to watch it and emphasize, comment on some of his points. So let's begin, guys.
If you're gonna ignore what J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, why even adapt his stories?
And by the way, he's black, in case if you don't know, he's gonna mention that. So a black guy who actually is completely objective and not racist.
Traitor. Oh.
Yes.
Several months ago, I made a video about the Wizards of the Coast Tales of Middle-earth cards. Now, I'm not into tabletop games, however, The Lord of the Rings is the source for most fantasy games, so it's a no-brainer to make something like that. In recent years, however, Wizards of the Coast have leaned heavily into identity politics, so there was no chance they could create this new deck and stay true to Tolkien's descriptions of his world and characters. No, Tolkien's world of Middle-earth is too white and too male, so Wizard decided to ignore what Tolkien wrote and instead race-swap many characters, specifically characters whose skin colors are described in the books. This obviously set off fans, which in turn set off the posers and virtue signalers, which in turn got the topic to trend on social media, which is probably what Wizards of the Coast wanted. What makes this situation different is that Tolkien's works are clearly inspired by Northwestern European cultures and are specifically built around English culture. Altering the appearance of the characters essentially strips away one of the things Tolkien wanted to do with the stories.
Okay, so first, how is the sound? Because the Ivy said it's a bit low, but I managed to put that up and lower our mics when we listen, so there's no like echo or anything. Hi to Andre. And yeah, first of all, I want to comment on the point that he made, that this, although it's fantasy, and we're going to probably go back to that point, but although it's fantasy, it is essential to keep the integrity and the truthfulness of the original work. So the fact that it's fantasy does not make it a free for all property to change how you will. It is not yours to change. It is not mine, it's not anyone else's, but the writer, and in this case, Tolkien. So that goes in general for everything. It is still a bit low. Okay, but are we low, or is, the video low? Gotta tell me. And Andre, hi to you, Andre, as well. Here we go again, Jesus fucking Christ. When is this going to end? When is Hollywood gonna prioritize the art of storytelling and the source material? When they
Not very
stop
soon. Yeah.
catering to the minority that are basically crazy. Okay, continuing.
Claim the lost folklore of England. For those who are unfamiliar with Tolkien's works, he loved folklore, but was saddened that much of England's folklore is either borrowed from or heavily influenced by the French. The idea behind the Tales of Middle-earth is to recapture those lost stories in tone, structure, theme, and culture. And it's that last bit, culture, that's important, because culture is defined by the people who live within it, not just by their actions, language, music, and general activities, but also by their appearances. Their appearances and the preferences associated with that are woven into their culture, folklore, and mythology. When you alter the people, including their appearances, you alter their culture.
Exactly. So yeah, let us know how the mic is now because on my side it looks perfect. Say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever he said, guys. I mean, culture is not just about skin color, or I mean, culture is so many things, and it's important to keep all those things intact in order to present one's culture. Once you messed up that, you're messing up everything.
Yeah.
Now it's better, okay? And my voice is still screwed up, so have that in mind. It's getting worse at the evening, so yeah, don't catch cold because the after effect just won't go away for at least a week.
Could be a politically correct quote.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, continuing.
With rare exception are they inseparable, and Tolkien's works are no different. His work is an English story, and as a result, the principal characters are Caucasian. However, Tolkien never states that white people are the only humans in the world of Arda. He says the opposite. There are the men of the south, Haradrim, and the men of the east, Easterlings. These two groups could respectively be considered Black and Asian. However, they are not the focus of the story. Tolkien's stories are chiefly about the elves and the men of the West, all of whom, according to Tolkien's descriptions, are white. So it's fair for people to expect any depictions of Tolkien's characters to be white, especially in cases where he specifically states that they are white, which leads us to Aragorn, King of the Posers. Tolkien describes Aragorn as having, quote, a shaggy head of dark hair flecked with gray, and in a pale, stern face, a pair of keen gray eyes. So you got two of those wrong, wizard. I don't see any gray eyes, and I damn sure don't see any pale skin. I also don't see Anduril, Flame of the West. I do see the Sword of Power from He-Man, and I'd like to know why you're not getting sued by Mattel. This is not Aragorn. It's not even fan fiction of Aragorn. It's a completely different character, and that's kind of the point. Leave it to Kotaku to state the obvious, because why scrape the bottom of the barrel when you can just bury yourself under it? From Sauron's taint, we get this soiled insight. Quote, Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth is to be revealed in full on May 30th, when the mechanics of how the CGC will play are revealed. But ahead of this announcement has come the very welcome news that Wizards of the Coast and Middle-earth Enterprises plan to make the Third Age a far more representative time to live in. Which is to say, not everyone's white. And if you're feeling the need to start writing a comment about the ethnicity of the Scandinavian nations that inspired, just close the article down now and move on. Your blood pressure is bad enough. My blood pressure is perfect, which is why I can calmly tell you that his works are not strictly inspired by Scandinavian nations, and what influences they do have are limited primarily to the dwarves.
Okay, and actually I have to research about J.J.R. Martin and Game of Thrones because he also based the characters, one of them, I think the Lannisters, on a real family.
On a real English family, and
Yes, yeah.
real actually events that happened between the so-called I think it was the so-called War of the Roses or something like that, which
Yeah.
was a real thingy that happened in England.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, the point is that
so.
well, he's gonna say what the point is
Yeah.
anyway. But yeah, so first, those people that do these things, they don't even do their research. So they just ate stuff like, oh, only on Scandinavian culture. The guy was English, Tolkien. He based what he wrote on English people as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just do the.
Plus, really, there is diversity in Middle-earth. I mean, it's really there in the books, as he also said, the men from the south, the men from. They were even there in the movies, those the men that came with the elephants and things too. So
yeah,
they were there.
Continuing.
I can also tell that you have a bad argument when the best clapback to criticism you can make is shut up. And that is the best argument this dude can make, because his follow-up argument is all kinds of stupid. Quote, Fortunately, for those whose imagination could somehow cope with magic walking trees and actual dragons, but not different melanin content in characters' skin, there's still plenty of blazing white fantasy out there in which they could take solace. You do realize that's an unbelievable self-own, right? Because you're basically saying that the people you're siding with who possess such incredible imaginations can't cope with a single fantasy story having a white cast. These people are so fragile that if they can't see themselves reflected in the characters, meaning the characters have to look exactly like them, well, they can't even. They can't read the story, they can't relate to any of the characters. The only way they can connect is if all the characters are melanated. And this is despite Tolkien's story already including diversity via all the races, or really species. The very thing they're asking for already exists with the elves, men, dwarves, orcs, and hobbits, and how they interact with each other. If you can only see yourself in characters when they look exactly like you miss the point of the story. Ironically, Wizards of the Coast admits this. On their page announcing the cards, they state that they had 2 goals, one of which was diversity, but admit that, quote, the Lord of the Rings is about the different peoples of Middle-earth coming together to fight Sauron, finding strength in their diversity. Fans of all backgrounds have been enjoying these stories, characters, and locations for decades, and we wanted this set to reflect that broad inclusion.
Okay, before we continue, because I'm going to forget my thought. I want, not I of course, but some insane person somewhere.
Yeah, people. I want.
Say it in the Arnold voice.
I want. I want a representation. You know, to all the cookies.
Yes.
All the cookies I could eat.
Is that why Arnold has so many roles? Because he wants to see himself on the screen
Exactly.
represented?
Exactly. That's why.
Is
Yes,
Arnold?
exactly. So nobody could see actually himself like the characters he played. That means that nobody watched movies.
No.
Is-
Only white people watch the
I
Arnold movies.
I sure wasn't a big muscular Austrian when I watched his movies when I was 8, you know, so I shouldn't be watching them.
I also grew up
So-
with these movies and I wasn't a muscular Austrian.
So we should have watched just the kiddie stuff back then, apparently.
Yes, and
not even that. Probably.
And it's not me, I'm talking about some insane person somewhere, demand for
yeah.
a real mermaid to play Ariel.
Of course.
She has to be exactly real, because otherwise she cannot play Ariel.
No.
And when we pick the new Superman, he has to be from Krypton.
Well, of course.
Because otherwise,
What
how
else? What
can
else?
he relate to the character that he's playing?
We can't.
Oh, but
no.
he's an actor. Oh, what's that?
But he's a white actor. You know, I cannot. Or you know, Henry Cavill is British, which we are not, so we cannot relate to Superman yet again.
And he cannot
I
play
suppose,
Superman
you know.
because he's British.
Yeah, no, he
And
can't.
Superman
Should be.
fell in America.
Yeah, well.
He's basically a redneck.
Yeah, he lives in Kansas actually, so yeah, so there.
So there.
That's it, you know.
So they have to pick a redneck to play Superman, and have this accent that is, you know.
Now back in my day.
In these regions.
Is that
Yeah, and he has to fly, the
Of
actor,
course.
and have all the
course.
Superman powers.
He should come to the casting flying, and that's it. It should be reflecting.
Oh my gosh!
You know.
Oh my gosh!
You just found the actor? Who is it? Who is it? Who
think
can
that-
fly and has superpowers?
I think that Ezra Miller is not really the Flash. Oh my gosh!
Revelations.
What?
Well,
What are we
did you
going
know
to
that Peter Cullen, who voices Optimus Prime for more than 20 years, is actually not an alien transforming robot? He's a Canadian dude, so I think he was
No.
Canadian. So
You're
he's
killing
not
my-
even American.
You're killing my not me SJW somewhere around the world.
And Ron Perlman, who will be voicing Optimus Primal in the movie, is actually not a monkey robot, you know, nor Hellboy. But
on,
yeah,
come on.
so then, since there is going to be a new Hellboy movie,
You're killing me.
I demand the actor for Hellboy this time to be a real born in hell creature. you know, red skin, but you know, red, like it should be with Hellboy, tail, and a gigantic stone hand. Was it the left hand or the right hand? I forget, yeah.
So
And the
when
horns, of course, do not forget the horns.
but he has to grow real horns.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the word actor doesn't mean anything anymore.
Also, he
apparently.
must be worthy for wielding the Excalibur, because in the comic books, actually, Hellboy does it and he becomes the King of England. Yeah, he does. So let's find the actor now. Yeah, he does that in the comic.
Continue with the video. I say.
I demand it.
I
Do
demand
not
it.
forget.
It's already there in the story. Tolkien's works have been translated into over 100 different languages. People around the world have enjoyed his stories for decades. They already feel included. That's why the stories are so popular. They don't need you to do anything else but draw what he wrote. And they damn sure don't need your so-called originality. Quote, the goal of this set is to express the story and is a modern take on the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, lovingly crafted for an ever-expanding fandom. No one wants a modern take on Tolkien's stories. Your job is to take what he wrote and make pictures. Your job is not to change his work. That's not just my opinion or some fan's opinion, that's Tolkien's opinion. When a Dutch publisher asked for his approval for changing the names of locations into Dutch, Tolkien said this from letter 190, quote, I hope you and the Foreign Rights Department will forgive my now at length writing to you about the Dutch translation. The matter is, to me, important. It has disturbed and annoyed me greatly and given me a good deal of unnecessary work at a most awkward season. In principle, I object as strongly as is possible to the translation of the nomenclature at all, even by a competent person. I wonder why a translator should think himself called on or entitled to do any such thing. That this is an imaginary world does not give him any right to remold it according to his fancy, even if he could in a few months create a new coherent structure, which it took me years to work out. Right there, Tolkien slaps down this idiotic argument I've seen numerous people make, claiming that because this is a fantasy story, because none of it is real, it doesn't matter how the characters are depicted. Well, if that's the case, then why do you want to change the characters?
Perfection. So yeah, if it doesn't matter anything that is written, then if it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why
it
would
has
you
no
change it then?
value. And then, yeah, why would you change it in the first place? And why is race swapping even occurring if it doesn't matter? Because the same people that are saying, oh, race doesn't matter. What is it to you if this person character is race swapped? It doesn't matter, right? Why are you doing it then?
Then why?
You
Yeah,
clearly
exactly.
have an agenda. You clearly doing it on purpose. This is the literal representation of something done on purpose for a particular purpose. I mean, can you get more obvious than that? So the hypocrisy is crazy. And furthermore, because it's not even realized, they're doing all of those things unconsciously. It's like they're hit on the head, they became automatons and just operating with the feelings part of their brain.
Yeah. And people who are okay with that are really just doing it because they think that this is the right thing, and if I accept that this makes me a better man, a better person. Sorry. So yeah, which is not true. It's basically you become the automaton of the automatons. You just go with them, with the flow. They tell you, here, this is how it should be, and you say, yeah. If we are nice people, we just shut up and accept how it is.
I mean, nice
because
people to whom?
to whom? Yeah,
to whom? Because you are pressing one type of people to elevate another instead of just appreciate objectivity and appreciate reality as it is. Whatever happened, it should be our lesson, not to be used so it could be changed, manipulated, and oddly twisted to things that just don't make sense at all. But continuing.
If they can be whatever anyone wants them to be, then why can't they be like their creator intended? If it doesn't matter because it's not real, then there's no reason to change anything. The argument itself is pure nonsense because fantasy stories function under a set of rules. They have to, because if they didn't, the audience would have no idea how the fantasy world works. The general rule is that unless the author says otherwise, the fantasy world's rules follow the same rules of the real world. So, unless the author says people can fly, you should assume no one can fly. If it's based in a medieval setting, you should assume that it follows the rules of the real medieval period until the author says otherwise, and that includes who people that culture. If the culture is clearly inspired by feudal Japan, you should assume the people are Japanese until the author says otherwise. The author is the one who decides the rules of the world, and those are the rules that everyone must follow. You do not get to come in and change it just to suit you. This is exactly what Tolkien argues in his letter. Quote, I presume that if I had presented the hobbits as speaking Italian, Russian, Chinese, or what you will, he would have left the names alone. Or if I had pretended that the Shire was some fictitious Loamshire of actual England. Yet actually, in an imaginary country and period, as this one, coherently made, the nomenclature is a more important element than in a historical novel. But of course, if we drop the fiction of long ago, the Shire is based on rural England and not any other country in the world, least perhaps of any in Europe on Holland, which is topographically wholly dissimilar. The toponymy of the Shire, to take the first list, is a parody of that of rural England, in much the same sense as are its inhabitants. They go together, and are meant to. After all, the book is English, and by an Englishman, and presumably even those who wish its narrative and dialogue turned into an idiom that they understand, will not ask of a translator that he should deliberately attempt to destroy the local color. Tolkien is telling the translator, the Dutch publisher, and his own publisher that the languages he created and the cultures that inspired them are integral to his work. You can't simply change them to make them more Dutch to allow the Dutch to see themselves in the story without fundamentally changing the tone and intent of his story. He takes great offense at these changes, getting into the minutiae as only Professor Tolkien could. I encourage people to read the whole letter. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by Tolkien and how he speaks. And here I just want to insert, the topic from last week when we talked about the race swap and how to train your dragon. So basically, as he said, when the author meant to write particular set of characters that are based on real people like the Vikings, then you should presume that those people look mostly with blonde hair and blue eyes,
Exactly.
or at the very least they're white.
Because it's still fictional, but it's based on the Vikings.
Yeah, so it's not like John Campbell said that it's fiction. So it is based on real things.
Exactly.
And same with Little Mermaid. It is based on European stuff, European culture, and she's supposed to be as depicted. So that is law. Whatever the author said, it is law. It has to be kept. If you try to change it, then you're ruining literally his legacy.
Yeah. If you need it to be changed so that you can see yourself or something like that, but clearly you're not a fan of that thing. Why do you even care then?
Yeah.
Just
apparently-
don't read the books, don't watch the movies, don't buy the freaking cards.
Yeah.
If you're not, then apparently you're not a fan really, and you
apparently
really
your
should
ego
not
is
care. Yeah.
bigger
Uh,
than your love for the work.
Yeah, because you really want to see yourself there. So this means you can't enjoy to any other thing. So I mean, when you play a video game, for example, and you have a given character, and how do you play then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna go back to some of the comments real quick. Hi to Chris as well, and Sir D, of course. Sorry, I hit the mic. Hi to Warzan. So, sorry guys. I'm enjoying Gary's frustrated expressions. I feel it's infuriating to witness such stupidity. Yeah, especially when it crosses all kinds of lines by this point.
And it's getting more and more absurd.
Yes, they have no shame. Ivy says the idea of Aragorn and the Dunedian,
The Dunedian, yeah.
Dunedian, is that they are not us. They are men, the likes of which we do not have nowadays. Even in the novel, no one had the knowledge of the Nemertines. I'm not sure if I
I think
read
it's
that.
bad.
I mean, those are humans that are stronger than regular humans, but they're still white humans, so the point of the race still stands.
Not to mention that the whole aesthetic of that guy there does not look like something that comes from Lord of the Rings, really. As just some guy said that, and that sort of look more like from He-Man, which they didn't do good thing and with He-Man nowadays, but still, it is a nice design and all, but not for Lord of the Rings, or not even, especially not for Aragorn.
Yes.
But yeah.
And I've also said MTG will keep doing all sorts of stuff. It's too big of a game. Whatever doesn't pays off for them, they will discard. Overall, there is only one JJRT content, and it's the Professor Christopher. And also, what I like here is the type said, but that is why Aragorn is such an immense character. He embodies something we could learn from and aspire for. In humbleness, humility, and lack of any vanity. Yeah, which is what these people need. People that change these things, they're all vanity, and they pretend that everyone else are to blame for the same, lack of character or, minus of values. Sorry, guys. I agree with the video conclusion, but he is really not accurate about the way he describes the professor's legendarium. Not the intention behind it, at least, but he is not deep into it. Well, I'm pretty sure that there's always something more that could be said, but what he is saying here, the point stands for the fact that Tolkien didn't even want some of his names translated, let alone changing the appearance of his characters. How will he feel if he was alive today and sees this happening? He will sue. Well, he would not allow this to begin with. So yeah. I thought if we have Black Aragorn, shouldn't he at least have his sword turned into Kopesh? Okay, wait a second. Hold on. People living throughout Europe are all black people, Moors, or Israel? Is that Israel? Israel? I cannot read this.
Yeah, I think it is Israel
clans. What part of history is that? Because it wasn't ancient history for sure.
Yeah, what history is that?
Yeah, just no. Continuing.
He ends with this perfect pimp slap. Quote, "May I say now at once that I will not tolerate any similar tinkering with the personal nomenclature, nor with the name/word hobbit. I will not have any more humpen, in which I was not consulted, nor any hobel or whatnot. Elves, dwarves, trolls, yes, they are mere modern equivalents of the correct terms. But hobbit and orc are of that world, and they must stay, whether they sound Dutch or not. If you think I am being absurd, then I shall be greatly distressed, but I fear not altered in my opinions. The few people I have been able to consult, I must say, express themselves equally strongly. Anyway, I am not going to be treated a la Mrs. Tiggywinkle, followed by something French that I'm not even going to attempt. Not that Beatrice Potter did not give translators hell, though possibly from securer ground than I have. I am no linguist, but I do know something about nomenclature, and have specifically studied it, and I am actually very angry indeed." And that's just what Tolkien has to say about people translating his works. In different letters, he complains about the idea of people changing his words and creating art and adaptations based on his works. He was very precious about this, and with good reason. We've seen too many times what happens when people don't care about the work, but like the idea of playing in its sandbox. They destroy what was created, often attacking the original creator while doing it, and then go after anyone who likes the works as they were. This is how you get people like David Levitt saying ignorant things like this, quote, "The same racist Nazi fuckers who complained about a black elf in the Rings of Power and a black mermaid in the new Little Mermaid are now throwing a fit because there's a black Aragorn in the new Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set. I fucking hate how many racists there are in the board game spaces." The only racists I see are clowns like you who think black people are so shallow that we need every character to look like us. I'm black. I love the Lord of the Rings the way Tolkien wrote it. I've read the books every year since 2003. I've watched both versions of all three films at least 20 times. I can even recite the commentary track for the sound design. You can't tell me anything about Love and the Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth. I don't need those characters to look like me to relate to any of them, and I don't need your racist revisions. So keep your forked tongue behind your teeth, Snake. And by the way, the cards aren't even consistent. For example, they race swapped Aragorn and Galadriel, two characters who are explicitly described as having pale or fair skin, but Arwen, Galadriel's granddaughter, is white. In the book, Imrahil the Fair is a 50-something-year-old white dude, but now he's a young black guy. Legolas, who's known for his golden hair, is clearly not blonde. It's literally a defining characteristic telling you what clan of elves he's from, just ignored. Then we've got Asian Butterbur, Black Hobbit, Brown Man of Gondor, Blackish Westfold Rider, but the Easternling, you know, the ones who are supposed to be Asian, now they're white. White, ginger, woman. What is happening? Oh, it gets worse, because somehow when Gandalf the Asian dies, he's reborn as Gandalf the Black. It's the same person, race swapped. And he's not the only one. Meriadoc Brandybuck, white. Mary, Esquire of Rohan, black. Same person. How is this happening? You'd think the people painting the pictures had no idea that these are the same people, but then there's clearly a mandate to depict Aragorn and Queen Cleo as black, so someone's telling these people who the characters are. How are you messing this up? But that's not the one. This is the one, and you really do need to look at the screen. Nothing is more important than this screen. Look at the screen. Here is Eomer, and here is his biological sister from the same two parents, Eowyn. How in the hell is he white and she's black if they have the same white parents? Wizards of the Coast were so busy trying to be inclusive and diverse that they didn't even keep track of the shit they were changing. And then they had the nerve to drag Elijah Wood into this and pay this man to make a video admitting that this is all just fanfiction. Yeah, we know. You didn't need to hire him to tell us that. This is why this stuff fails. It's not because everybody's a bigot. Sure, there are plenty of bigoted people who jump in to stoke the flames, but they aren't most of the people complaining, and they aren't the most vocal. This stuff fails because your claims that people can't relate to these stories and characters unless the characters are exactly like them are false. Millions of people have fallen in love with Tolkien's stories and related to his characters despite looking nothing like them because people are more than just their appearances. They are drawn to his characters because they want to know more about those characters, about those people. They see the similarities in their experiences and the characters, and that gives people a better understanding of themselves and of others. That's the whole point of storytelling, to convey ideas from one person to another so we understand those around us. When you race swap characters, you aren't making some grand statement about understanding, tolerance, or acceptance. You're just telling everyone that you're so shallow and narcissistic that you can't relate to anyone who isn't exactly like you. Maybe if you stopped pretending to like Tolkien's works and actually read his books, you'll learn to think better of others and yourself. But what do I know? I'm just some guy. Here's a thought.
Sorry. Okay, that was it. So yeah, definitely go check just some guy channel because he's great. So coming from a black person, no less, he is telling you the facts, literally.
Exactly.
And even those people from Magic the Gathering didn't get the characters race swapped correctly because they race swapped them twice sometimes. It's just ridiculous. And I don't know who this guy David Levitt is, but once again he said the same races who complained about Black Elf and the Rings. So yeah, once again John Campia and people like this seem to think that because people complain, they are
Automatically
racist.
yes.
No. It's the exact opposite. People who want the truth to come out, I mean, not to come out, everybody knows it, but some people just try to change it, just want that. And when it's the truth, it's better for all people, no matter the race. But they don't get that.
Yeah, they don't get those million people who actually fall in love with the books and, you know, everything, and they don't need the characters to look exactly like them. I mean.
Yeah, because why did we ever watch anything then?
Yeah.
The characters that we see on screen are not like us at all. They are either action stars, superheroes, super comedy, I don't know what. I mean, larger than life characters that are in situations that will never happen to most people. So none of these people are really true to life in many aspects. They're not. So whereas anyone's representation then, even if you're watching Will Smith and you're black, that doesn't mean that you're represented on screen.
Exactly.
Because on screen is Will Smith. It's not you. It is not you. You have nothing in common. I mean, besides, of course, that you are of the same race, but that same race also has nuances to it. Nuances to it. There's more black people than other black people, more light-skinned people that come from. I mean, they have genetic lineage from different tribes in Africa, let's say, that also have different histories. So it's like saying that Greeks and Bulgarians are the same because they're both white people, but we actually have different gene types, different variation of uh, the white, the white race, all of those things. So there will never be a real representation of anyone on screen. You cannot represent billions of people on the screen. That's not the point of storytelling.
Exactly.
The point of storytelling, as he said, is to tell someone a story, transport them into another world, another setting, filled with another things. It is to escape from the real world, is not to be put in it and suffer.
Yeah. Why
It's
would
the
you want
opposite.
to see the same thing that happens in the real world instead of having actually 2 hours to escape from that and to actually get some creative ideas from what you see?
And plus, swapping white characters or historical figures like freaking Cleopatra with black, it means that those people that are doing this, that are often black themselves, they want to say, oh, we don't actually have good original characters, oh, we don't actually have a good enough historical figures, so we're going to take yours and we're going to steal them and race swap them so we can say, oh, look, Cleopatra was black now. Oh, by the way, what about your other African queens that actually were very awesome?
Yeah.
And the Kentucky, for example, defeated the Romans. When did Cleopatra did that? Oh wait, she didn't.
She didn't.
She didn't. She did other things to keep Caesar under control and Rome, respectively, and then Mark Antony. Okay, she had. I mean, it was a different time for her. She had to do things differently. Egypt was not the power that it used to be. But the point is, if you want a warrior queen, you had that. You have her, but you didn't do anything about that. And there's other stories actually that I found out now, around Cleopatra's story because nobody talks about these historical figures that are black. We don't know about them.
Yeah.
Black people don't know about
Exactly.
them. They don't. And that's the point. Why did Jada Pinkett Smith didn't do a real documentary about those real amazing black figures in history? Why did you have to make a fool out of yourself and make Egypt sue Netflix now for $2 billion? Is that what you want? Because a huge lie like this can affect the whole view on the world, and once again is not good for you because you are saying yourself, Jada, and everyone else that agrees with this, that your story, your history, your characters, your real historical figures are not good enough to make, anything about them. You're saying that not we. We want to know, but we can't know because we had our queen stolen from us, so to speak, and changed for absolutely no reason than a direct agenda. And there's a lot of other things that are wrong about this documentary. By the way, there's a medieval fortress that looks like one of the fortresses from Game of Thrones, like medieval, in the middle of a documentary about ancient Rome and Egypt. Oh my gosh. Also, the clothes are wrong. the makeup is wrong.
Yeah. And it's a documentary, nonetheless.
Jesus
But,
Christ. Hi to Bigelow Male, by the way. Personally, I never seen a group of white people from any southern Hampshire island nation. The geography in which Numenor is located. You've never seen a group of white people from any southern Hampshire island. I'm not sure about that. Maybe DRF is going to weigh in on that one. Okay, there's an argument going on in the chat as well. But yeah, I mean, point being for Aragorn, if Aragorn is described as being white, he is white. Period. There's no changing him.
That's it.
There
I
is
mean,
no going and doing this to Tolkien's corpse, you know, and be like disrespect to your work, disrespect.
exactly. I mean, that's what he said. That's literally his work.
Yeah.
I mean, just like if it's a black written character from the author and you decide, okay, let's make him Chinese now, you're doing the same thing. The author said, do not change my work. If it's an originally, let's say, black superhero created originally like that, and they decided, okay, now we make a movie and he's going to be, let's say, Latino or whatever else it is, then it is the same thing. It's again disrespectful. Why do you need to change that? If you actually have already established created character. It's getting heaty in the chat.
Hey to Michael in the chat. I really can attest to that. I think Big Omeo, it is perhaps the Black Numenorians they are attempting to refer to. I never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of other, nations or, different group of people that are black, but not of Black Numenorians. I don't know about that. However, Black Numenorian is not a description of a skin color.
I think it was on the cover skin. Yeah.
Dark evil. That's totally different.
Exactly. I think this was the black note. Just like when you say a dark elf or things like that, it means that, the behavior and the things that they're using, not skin color.
Black tone in icon painting comes from egg yolk degradation. Yeah, that makes sense. And you have a diploma in history art. That's great. Aragon Black. That's the whole of it. Flannery? Indeed. What's that? I don't know. But they merely want to make Aragon Black. That's the whole of it. So yeah, DRI knows a lot more about that.
Yeah.
Greetings, my Empress. The Black Numenorian is a later offshot of the original Numenorian's race. Okay. Well, point being, if Aragorn or whoever is not black, they should not be depicted as such, no matter if it's a card game or whatever game.
It doesn't matter, yeah. I mean, if you need a character to be changed like that, that's absolutely your problem.
Yeah.
Whether you're white, black, or things like that. I don't need Black Panther to be changed as a white person.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, there is no need of that. Shouldn't complain about that or anything like that. No, I mean, I like the character the way he is. I'm not going to say to Stanley, that's why is he black? You created all these other white characters, so let's make him the white too. I mean, because I can't see myself as him. I want to be a king of Wakanda, but I can't see myself like that. So you don't need that. You can see all the other qualities that you can learn from him. His bravery, that he's a great king. He's also a scientist in the comic books and things like that, and everything that you can see from a superhero.
Yeah, we still went to see Black Panther.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I didn't like some of the things about this movie that have to do with race again, but
that's the problem of the movie, not of the character.
Yeah, the character.
Again, as we say, yeah. So here we go. I'm not Canadian, but my favorite superhero is Wolverine.
And he's Canadian.
And he's Canadian, and he's favorite to many Americans. So I mean, and not only, and I have seen interviews about the character in which also black people say that they like him. I mean, why wouldn't they? Heck, there was even an anime with him. Apparently, Japanese people also like him. So why do you need to change anything at all? That's really, I mean, if you really want the character to be changed so that it suits you and you can see yourself in it, that's really your ego problem. which you have to work on, and not demanding stuff.
Yeah, that's just ego.
Yeah.
It's not right. It doesn't make it right. It makes it all kinds of wrong. You cannot get to take somebody else's work and change it just because you wanted to.
Exactly.
The integrity of the work must be kept as it is. It's a historical treasure. It is what it is. You have to appreciate it as it is, and that's it. Never change it. If you want to adapt it the way that it is, close as possible. I mean, at least the movies did keep the spirit. And they made it so, it was logical for the movie screen. Whatever they changed, whatever it was, the pacing was, they did a great job. And a lot of people watch these movies time and time and time again because they're really, really good movies. And they appreciate the work that it was done because it was done, tastefully. So that's it, guys. Like I said, the original video in the description. He had some amazing things to say. I just love to hear what Tolkien actually thought about very similar matters. It's like he's talking to us from today's times when he's talking about the translations of names. Hobbit should stay a hobbit. So if you think that he didn't even want those things to be changed, the names, he wanted particularly orcs and hobbits to be called as they are. What do you think that he will feel if he will think about race swapping characters? Because the people that Aragorn comes from, they have particular characteristics, particular story, history, culture. And if you take one person and his family or the whole nation, whatever, they were never black, or in that region those people were never black, and change that, then you change absolutely everything about them. It's no longer the same character. And when it's no longer the same character, you are crossing the line here, and you're destroying the original. That is what you're doing.
Just create your own character, and that's it.
Why don't we just take the Mona Lisa and paint her like black or something?
Sure.
This painting is preserved in a particular atmospheric.
Because at that time, Leonardo da Vinci would really find a black woman to draw in Italy.
But he already drew her. Why?
So,
you cannot change that. But why, on the same logic, then we just go and repaint those paintings because we are considering them original legacy, treasure, historical artifacts, and we protect these and we put them in particular environments so they can be further preserved. We don't change them. So why can't you just do that for written art and written treasures and historical legacy and all that? Why is this ridiculous notion now? I'm pretty sure the next thing they're going to touch is, I don't know what, trying to destroy the paintings or something, really. But someone will then raise a hand for
probably
sure.
They'll say that Da Vinci was a racist, so actually she was black, but he drew her as a white woman.
Oh, really? Why? Why would he do that?
Yeah, well, because he was a racist.
He was drunk or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. The author of the Three Musketeers, by the way, was kind of black-ish, because he was of that part of France. I think that his characters are not black. He wrote about these musketeers in France at that time, and he wrote great characters. So, do we need to make a movie tomorrow about them and make D'Artagnan or the others, black, Chinese, Indian, and whatever, and we'll make the excuse? Well, the author was black. Yeah, he was. Kind of. I'm not sure exactly how much. There are paintings and things like that. And he was of a descent of something, not African, but he didn't need to make his characters. He just needed to write great characters. in a great book, and that's it.
Imagine
And
that.
imagine that, yeah, imagine that.
We have a question from Bigalomeo, and yeah, of course I'm happy. Question: is it possible to have alternative portrayals of an original story where ethnic, gender elements are altered, exist alongside the original story without dismissing it? I think that this will still destroy everything. So,
Yeah,
I mean, DRI also responded. I'm gonna read that, but I mean, you can tell me if you have a different opinion, of course. But I think that we think the same about this thing. So, if you have alternative portrayals, then you have to label it as fan fiction
yeah,
because that is
exactly.
what it will be. So basically, you are a fan or someone that just want to use the base of a story or characters and just want to alter them to suit what you want to see. That's literally a fan fiction.
Exactly. Like there are many books about the son of Harry Potter. I forget his name. That those things are labeled fan fiction. So I mean, that's what you would like to see, and you write stories like that. I mean, I have. As a child, write some stories, including game books. You know, those things that you can choose your own path, your own adventure in the books about Batman and the Ninja Turtles. But that's a fan fiction. Those were things that I decided, what if the Ninja Turtles do that, or what if Batman does? I have never seen it in comic book. I'm going to write it, but that's what it is. You know, otherwise, create your own original story. Why, if you don't like that world that the author showed you, why, what would you want to put things inside in that world? Just create your original story. Something that is yours.
Yeah.
Something that might be inspired from that world, because everything is inspired by something. Nothing is original, as we say. And you can say, yes, I was inspired by that and that, but this is my world, my thing that I created. Don't need to put anything inside anything else.
It's kind of similar way when I was little and I wrote a character that was similar to Conan and
Here you go, yeah.
I just want to say a huge thank you to Bigalomero for his super chat. That is always absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You totally make a total difference on the channel. And I actually gifted one membership. Okay. Let me, Bigalomero, let me just catch up with the comments. I'm gonna answer your question. So, another example, real quick, is when I actually wrote a fan fiction about Dinner Warrior Princess. I did that, but have to make the point that because I love the show and how everything is in it, I just continued the story in the way that I think that it's gonna happen. So I kept the truthfulness, of the characters, how they would interact with each other, their personalities, their environments that they would be in, and stories that could happen in Zeta. So I kept everything as if I'm the original author and just continue the story. That is because I love the original so much and I wouldn't want to change it for the world, really. So that's how you actually write fan fiction. And if you want to change so much things, then you're just basically saying, well, I like the basic premise of this or that. But if you put this character there or that character there, maybe it's gonna be more interesting to me because I want to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is to you. It's not what the original, writer intended. So when you change that intent, then it's no longer the same thing, and it's once again it becomes literal fan fiction. Fan fiction of this kind that you don't want to keep the original stuff.
We can see it in today when actually many of those fans who wrote their fan fictions, suddenly some of them get a chance to work for those companies. Like, for example, some of them became writers at Marvel or DC, and then they get a chance to write a character that they like. And yeah, some of the most messed up stories that I have seen with those characters come from people like that, because they could never actually let go of the grasp that, but I want this to happen to the character. That means that in their core they never get who this character is, because you are not ready to continue with who he is at this inception, let's say, and you want to change things the way that you want. You know, for example, now I want Barry Allen again to be the Flash, when clearly we had another good thing before that, but still, called Wally West. And you say, oh yeah, now he's back because I want him to be back. It's you know, it's what I want. Or I want Batman to be indestructible, a machine that always has a plan and no semblance of emotions and things like that. I'm looking at you, Grant Morrison. Um, and then now we have things like that. So there you go.
Okay, let me finish the comments because I think they're important. So Michael says, all of this race wrangling crap is ridiculous. Honestly, all I can say, apart from leave Professor Token alone, you fools and narcissist. And Andrew says, because an adaptation should be faithful to the source material.
Exactly.
Now, yeah, I mean, once again, there is something to be said about ego and yes, narcissism, because those are things that are connected. If you really want to change something, why that? I mean, why would you do that? So that means that you don't really like it that much, or if you want to add to it, I don't know. It is. I already explained it, but if you want to change it, well, that's your desire. But you have to ask yourself, why do you want to change it?
You can still make it better as an adaptation, but it still needs to be only not only an adaptation. You still have to stay true to the spirit of what is there, of what the original author had intended the story to be.
Yeah, because if you go too far away from the original, it actually becomes plagiarism. Because by that point, you're just creating your own thing using someone else's
using
original
the characters
idea.
and the ideas. Yeah,
that's literal plagiarism. I mean, how many times we see stories that's so similar to another story? Like, for example, there was a story before the Lion King about some other lion that was white or something.
Kimba the White Lion.
Yeah, and then we have that's kind of that's plagiarism.
Disney never actually admit that.
Things.
Yeah, no, but they are visible things that if you Kimba was created before that. It was actually manga and an anime by I forgot the name of the person.
Okay, yeah, so continuing, Beagle Mail says, but that's all that's going on. No one is claiming ownership of Tolkien's work. They seem to express an artistic, interpretive judgment. Like I said,
by using already established characters and work. If they want to be so artistic,
you can call it a transformative content.
Let's say,
because that is how things are on YouTube. I mean, we were arguing about similar stuff on YouTube for years about what we can use or not as creators. So when I used last night and I published this short clip from the Jim Carrey movie Liar Liar.
Great movie.
And I used it to show that he is like the representation of an HJW, and the other people that are opposite of him are just the sane people, and basically it's like a meme scene. Universal decided to, of course, take the video for themselves, and I said, well, it's a transformative content because I'm using just a few seconds of said movie. I gave credit to the said movie, and I changed it. I put these huge labels on the characters, so it becomes something else. It becomes a meme. And you are not allowing me to use that, but I'm not stealing the movie or anything. I'm just showing this clip, which is public to everyone for years. So they are not allowing me to do a transformative content.
And you're not going to make any money out of that, as we say.
Yeah.
Which is if those people probably with the character things really want to be artistic and show their interpretation, okay, but don't make money out of it then. How much are those cards? I mean,
I think we messed up the two things.
Like that. Yeah.
My point was that if I didn't do that clip the way that I did it, that would never be done in the same way that I did it. So I did something that was my work, but I used as a base another movie. So we either have to have a split revenue on this, because it is transformative content. And if you want to make a movie, it should be labeled as a transformative content if you're going to change so many things that you make them your own. That is it, and you're not claiming ownership over Tolkien, but you're taking what he did and making it your own. So it should be a transformative content then. I mean, so far there's no such label, but I think that it should be, because that is how it's going to become clear that you're using certain characters or stories, but you're changing them in your own way, so therefore transformative work and not even an adaptation.
Don't you still need the rights to them to do that?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, unless you change it so much that you change also the names and maybe the style of the clothes. It has to be really different. But that is my topic for the rights as well. Okay, so Bigelow says, when I say they, I mean the artists from MTG who designed and issued the cards. Those artists were just paid to do whatever they were ordered to do. They may not be.
Nobody talks that they did a bad thing. Yeah.
They actually did a great work in terms of the designs. They may not even agree with this, and they still did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's their job. It's probably they told them it's either that or you.
They're just
your job. So
designers that are being told what to do.
Yeah.
They may agree or not agree, but it's not their job to agree or not agree. You know. Okay, they're legal excuses for sure, but if you have the rights, be transparent about what you're doing. If it's an adaptation, then be accurate. If you go for whatever you like, say it like it is. Yeah, pretty much what I said. I'm sure they could legally. Wizards couldn't accept something that could harm them, but I don't really know. Okay, how is this not seen as an adaptation? There's zero dispute about the authorship of the original story. Yes, there is. But they did hire Elijah Wood to say it's fanfiction.
Yeah.
So they are admitting it. They are admitting it.
And if it is a fan fiction, why would anyone care about that then? It's clearly not part of that world.
Yeah, it is not official. And besides, when you know that Tolkien himself was extremely serious about how even his translations are done, and he didn't want changes, then you can't. I mean, to the very least, if you respect him and his work, but at the very least, you have to label whatever you do based off of his work. You have to label it fan fiction, to the very least, because otherwise you're disrespecting his wishes on these matters. He was super clear about these things. So 30 says, I'm speaking about icon writing and reasons for faces and icon painting getting dark over time. We got it, 30, but I understand why you're explaining this. Good stream. I may disagree, but what would life without conflict? Sorry, guys, it's really hard for me to talk now. At that point, we are not having a conflict here, though. Just having a conversation and logically explaining, why we think what we think. Michael says, all this began when Christopher Tolkien died. He would never have allowed it.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually that his son was never going to allow that. So, I mean, his grandson is the one who, sold the things to Amazon and to whoever. And it's kind of, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It can be called that now. That do allow it for almighty cash. Yes, his grandson apparently. I'm glad you guys have an understanding though in the chat. Serdi says, I love this stream. Learned a lot about Tolkien. Thanks. I'm not a fan at all. Read it once years ago. Watched the movies. That's it. Still couldn't get over black beardless dwarven woman. Oh Jesus! Everyone talking about that.
Yeah.
That's another issue entirely. Came to the White Lion. Yes, Disney were too powerful to sue. If the Japanese studio went for it. Yeah, not good. Have a great evening, everybody, and keep up the good fight. See you now next time. Oh, thank you, Andre, and to you as well. Bless you, man. Sir D, I say start with The Hobbit. then read the novel, then the rest, but the movies, yeah, Lord of the Rings trilogy included, are not the best adaptation. Yeah, sure, of course, we all know this. They are great films, but far from the literature. Yeah, and somehow they still manage to capture the spirit, at least.
Is that
I've read The Silmarillion, Hobbit, and touched Lord of the Rings. Touched? It just not really became my thing. I'm more of a Witcher, Inquisitor, and Eye of the Swallow fan, Polish authors mostly.
yeah, you just need a different type of fantasy, yeah. Or probably you were tired because of the ceremony, which is a great thing, but it's just really, really hard. Yeah, I
Okay.
think you really need to be a great, great, great hardcore fan to go through all that. I've read just The Hobbit and then The Lord of the Rings, the other book, and I touched the Silmarillion, but I really did not kind of have the time by that point to finish it actually, and I really prefer also things to be not in that form, let's say. It's more like people telling you what happened and things like that, and I couldn't get behind that
Yeah.
that much. But yeah, so you clearly just need a different type of fantasy, like every person.
Yeah.
There is fantasy and fantasy, so
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go.
For
Yeah,
sure.
nothing
guys.
wrong in that.
Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for watching, for being here. Thank you for the support. I always enjoy a civil conversation. And a big LML for his great support, and DRI for giving one membership. Have a good night, sleep well. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to have another stream with Kid from Chicago Reacts. So stay tuned for that. We're going to discuss another one of these amazing topics that just keep coming. So yeah, I love you guys, and bye bye. Sleep well.